Hello there, very good evening and a warm welcome to the news live on Rupavahini. I'm Sharon Mascarenhas.
A very good evening indeed. I'm Javed Bronzo and we begin with the headlines of tonight's news.
The UN Secretary-General called on the President. UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon says the youth has been vested with more responsibilities in the process of building peace, justice and reconciliation. The President focused attention on providing prompt solutions for several problems of police officers. 8 persons including Gotabaya Rajapaksa have been issued notices to appear before the court. Minister Chandima Virakodi claims that SLFP grassroots and village level members are with the party chairman. The first female president of Brazil has been thrown out of office.
On to the stories in detail now. UN Secretary General, who is on a 3-day official tour in Sri Lanka, called on President Maithripala Sirisena this evening. They held bilateral talks at the President's house in Colombo. The UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon held bilateral talks with the President Maithripala Sirisena as his important assignment during the official tour. The UN Secretary General has focused special attention on the program of the government headed by the President to restore national reconciliation in the island. Foreign Minister Mangala Samaravira was present. Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon will visit Jaffna tomorrow and inspect a program of establishing reconciliation and resettlement that displays of the area.
Meanwhile, United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon hails the task being fulfilled by the Sri Lankan government towards empowering the youth in the country. Addressing the youth seminar in Galle, he said that those efforts were praiseworthy.
The UN Secretary-General, who arrived in Galle, participated in religious observances at Sadaham Malya Temple in Galle. The youth seminar was conducted thereafter under the theme of Reconciliation, Coexistence and the Role of Youth. It was jointly organized by the National Youth Service Council, National Policies and Economic Affairs Ministry, the Office of National Integration and Reconciliation Bureau in collaboration with the UN office in Colombo. Over 100 young men and women representing various areas in the island participated in the seminar. The UN Secretary-General inspected an exhibition depicting the views of youth. Thereafter, he placed his signature on the peace pledge.
All countries have pledged to bring this agenda to life. I call on young people to lead the way. All of you can be sustainable development leaders. You may be interested in human rights or justice. You may be fascinated by agriculture or medicine. You may want to care for the elderly or teach in schools. Whatever path in the future you may choose, I encourage you to participate in our drive for a sustainable future. Everybody must be on board. Nobody should be left behind.
It's a common practice that foreign diplomats who visited Sri Lanka also visited the northern parts of the country. But Ban Ki-moon has decided to travel down south as well as Jaffna. This is because the entire country is covered by the reconciliation program of the government. This is Motilal Hisdala reporting from Galle.
President Maithripala Sirisena has focused attention on providing prompt solutions for several problems of the policemen. The President has directed the Police Commission and the Inspector General of Police to fill the vacancies of all grades in the police service as soon as possible by following a proper promotion method which is for police officers. He reiterated that it is essential to solve the problems of policemen, enabling them to provide more efficient and quality service for the people.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, who left for Singapore to attend the inauguration ceremony of 2016 Indian Ocean Conference, arrived in Singapore today. The Sri Lankan Premier is scheduled to deliver the keynote address at the inauguration ceremony to be held at Shangri-La Hotel tonight. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and Professor Maitri Wickremesinghe were greeted by officials of the Sri Lankan High Commission at Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Singapore. The Premier met the Indian State Minister for Foreign Affairs, Sri M.J. Akbar. Mr. Akbar said that the participation of the Sri Lankan Prime Minister accepting the invitation extended by the Indian Foundation was a great strength for organisers and a light for the conference. Several sessions to discuss defence, economic, cultural and environmental issues affecting the region are to be conducted at the 2016 Indian Ocean Conference. Heads of state of Indian Ocean region as well as Western countries, politicians, scholars and officials will attend the sessions on trade, investment and cultural fields tomorrow.
A case filed against 8 persons, including former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa by the Bribery or Corruption Investigation Commission, was taken up for hearing before the Colombo Chief Magistrate Gyan Pilipitiya today. He directed to issue notices to the suspects to appear before the court on the 30th of this month. These 8 suspects were accused of causing a loss of 11.4 billion rupees for the government, allowing the avant-garde maritime company to maintain a floating armoury. The Bribery Commission has filed a case against them for causing the loss for the government. A case filed against the 6 suspects, including parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa, on charges of financial misappropriation. They have been charged of a financial irregularity amounting to 45 million rupees committed through Helcorp and NR consultant companies under the Money Laundering Act. This case was taken up for hearing before the Colombo Additional Magistrate Nishanta Piris. Financial Crime Investigation Commission sleuths informed that the court had the investigation into the financial misappropriation has been completed and the report was submitted to the Attorney General. The case will be called again for hearing on the 8th of December. Only 4 suspects appeared before the court today. Another 2, Indika Karunajiva and Iresha Silva, was absconding in overseas. They were issued notices as well. Sarath Veeravansha, a brother of parliamentary Vimal Veeravansha, who was taken into custody, has been remanded till the 7th of this month. This order was given by the Fort Magistrate when the suspect was produced before him. He was arrested by the FCID this morning when he came there to give a statement on misusing of vehicles at the Presidential Secretariat and the Housing Development Authority during the previous regime. The anticipatory bail application of the former Colombo Chief Judicial Medical Officer Anand Samarasekara was taken up for hearing again before the Additional Magistrate Dulani Amarasinghe today. He has filed the bail application claiming that there was an attempt by the CID to arrest him for the misplacing of a few parts of bones kept at a safe place after the first post-mortem of the national ruggerite Wasim Tajuddin. Considering the submissions made by the CID to grant a separate date to obtain a State Council's assistance, the Additional Magistrate has postponed the case till the 5th of this month. Army commander has ordered to immediately suspend the services of Lieutenant Colonel who was allegedly involved in the incident of shooting at his wife in Malabay. The Army headquarters said that this directive was issued to extend maximum support for investigations. Another firearm said to have belonged to the suspect was found from the Devanna area today. It was recovered on a joint search operation conducted by the CID and the Sri Lankan Navy. The CID informed the court that the firearm used to shoot at the wife of the Army Lieutenant Colonel was said to have belonged to the Tiger organization as well. 2 suspects have been taken into custody by the Colombo Crime Investigation Division in connection with the abduction and the assassination of the Bambalapitiya millionaire businessman in Grand Pass and Andhrupuvidya areas. And also, the Hambantota Provincial High Court has sentenced 3 suspects for death today in the incident of assassinating 3 people in the Ruhunu Ridiyagama Modara area in Ambalantota in the year 1993. High Court Judge Ajit M. Masinghe imposed the capital punishment on suspects in the age groups of 66, 61 and 51 years.
Defence Secretary Karunasena Hettiarachchi says experiences gained by the Sri Lankan security forces in defeating terrorism were very useful to the world facing terrorist threats at the moment. He was speaking at the inauguration ceremony of the Defence Seminar in Colombo today. Sri Lanka Army has organised a 2-day seminar at the BMICH in Colombo for the 6th time in succession. This year's theme is soft power and its impact on global issues. 800 specialists in the defence field are among the participants. Over 100 foreign delegates in 70 countries are also participating in the seminar. Minister Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca was the chief guest. State Minister for Defence Ruwan Wijewardena, commanders of the three armed forces and members of the diplomatic corps graced the occasion. Army Commander Lieutenant General Krishanta de Silva emphasized the need of collective actions of countries as the present world is facing complexities in various fields.
The world today is witnessing tensions in diversified forms, which may undermine peace, cooperation and development, and very existence of human race. The rise of influential non-state actors, extremism, separatism and terrorism, and increasing severity of non-traditional threats along with mass migration have now compelled nations to have forethought in order to preserve their strategic interests under these challenging circumstances. These challenges have made countries to pursue a more collaborative approach to resolve these issues peacefully.
This year's defense seminar is significant for another factor. This seminar is held at a moment when the first ever national security think tank was established under the vision of our President, His Excellency Maithripala Sirisena, and our National Security Council. As the chair of the institute, I invite the scholars to work closely with the new think tank. Several years after the end of the war on terrorism, our leadership has realized how important it is to share the knowledge gained over the decades with the international community. In the post-IS age of widespread terror, our in-house expertise on defeating terrorists can be of immense benefit for the rest of the world.
This is a very important conference for us here because Sri Lanka hosts so many DAs and we can come and meet everybody, exchange ideas. I think this is probably one of the premier conferences we could come where we can meet people from so many diverse backgrounds. So we're really grateful that Sri Lanka hosts such a seminar each year.
Colombo Defence Seminar has gained highly international reputation since it has shared knowledge, experience and expertise ideas of defence in the world. I'm Dhammika Wickramage of Rupavahini, reporting from Bandanayaka International Conference Hall.
In other stories, Minister of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Development Mahinda Amaravira told a media conference in Colombo today that certain persons in the opposition were making misleading statements without the knowledge of the country's rule of law. Minister Mahinda Amaravira said that two main political decisions were taken. One of the decisions was the President cannot dissolve the government till the completion of another 4.5 years. The President has the power to dissolve the government 6 months before the ending of the term of the present government. The second decision was that a person who held the presidency for 2 times cannot contest the next presidential election. Without knowing those decisions, one female MP has stated that Mahinda Rajapaksa will be made the president of this country before the next Sinhala New Year and thereafter form their government. He said that he does not want to slander the former president. A small group of people have pushed a person who was like a king at that time into the road today. One of the persons in this group was now making statements claiming that they will form a government under the leadership of the former president. They very well know that this task was impossible. They were trying to fool the Sri Lanka Freedom Party members, he said.
The US-Sri Lanka Trade and Investment Facilitation Agreement intersessional discussions began in Colombo today. This conference was jointly organized by the Development Strategies and International Trade Ministry in collaboration with the US Embassy in Colombo. Discussions between the officials of various government institutions and departments as well as US Chamber of Commerce were centered on the preparation of a path of action plan to boost bilateral trade and investment relations between the two countries. Mr. Malik Samaravikrama said that this agreement will pave the way for the promotion of small and medium-scale businesses.
To further our bilateral trade and investment relations, which I am sure will help Sri Lanka immensely. As is well known, our two countries have a very productive bilateral relations over 7 decades. The US continues to be our largest export market. In the year 2015, we exported 2.8 billion worth of goods and services to USA. over 70% of the value, 70% of the goods by value was apparel through world-class companies. The apparel sector in Sri Lanka accounts for over 300,000 jobs and prides itself on its social responsibility, garments without guilt. For the year to date 2016, our exports to the US continue to perform well. However, we need to urgently accelerate this growth by better market access. The importance of this should not be underestimated for a country like Sri Lanka, which is small and highly trade dependent for promoting growth and shared prosperity, especially at a time when we are engaged in an arduous task of restructuring and rebalancing Sri Lanka's economy, while ensuring an inclusive growth and development across the country. I consider this is critically important for lasting peace and reconciliation efforts that the government has embarked upon.
Sri Lanka's trade with the U.S. is an important bedrock of the economy, accounting for many thousands of jobs across the island. The overall trade performance of Sri Lanka has been in decline for some time. One common way of measuring a country's external trade performance is to measure the volume of external trade with the GDP of the economy over time. If you do that with Sri Lanka, you'll find that the share of external trade as a percentage or a proportion of the overall Sri Lankan economy has been in decline. In fact, it's declined quite precipitously over the past couple of decades. Now, this decline is especially concerning given the urgent task of national reconciliation. It is axiomatic that if you want a liberal society, you need a growing economic pie. While I don't reduce everything to economics, I do firmly believe that the task of national reconciliation will be made much easier in an environment characterized by rapid economic growth and job creation.
A number of my colleagues, there are 6 of us here.
In other stories, Facets 2016, the International Gem and Jewellery Exhibition was opened at the Bandaranaike Memorial International Conference Hall in Colombo today under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena. This exhibition is organised by the Sri Lanka Gem and Jewellery Association for the 26th time in succession. Several local and foreign buyers and local businessmen in gem and jewellery field were among the large gathering attended the glittering ceremony organised in connection with the opening of the exhibition. The President inspected the gem and jewellery stalls. Buyers said that Sri Lanka gets pride of place among countries presenting valuable gems to the international market. The exhibition will conclude on the 4th of this month.
Mr. Harin Fernando says the United National Party is celebrating its 70th anniversary with great dignity. Addressing a media conference at Sirikota party headquarters, he noted that the beginning of a journey to make a great change in the country is to be recorded again with the 70th anniversary celebrations. Mr. Harin Fernando said that the UNP always gives pride of place to national amity. It is celebrating its 70th anniversary with the government with great dignity. The UNP is the only party which can make the change necessary for the country and for the betterment of the people. An important message will be given to the country at the 70th anniversary of the UNP, along with the launch of a journey aimed at creating a change in the island. No one can expect a massive development from a government which came to power a year ago. Some of our leaders who became the Prime Minister of this country for 4 times have spent their own money for political work. One such leader had 400 rupees in his account when he was leaving Temple Trees after holding the premiership for 4 years. That was the dignity of the past leaders of the UMP.
And here's Asia News in a minute. Malaysian police said they arrested 3 suspect Islamic State radicals who were planning to attack entertainment venues and a Hindu temple outside Kuala Lumpur on the eve of the country's Independence Day. About 100 students of a private engineering college in Kanpur city of India's northern Uttar Pradesh state fell ill after eating a meal at a hostel mess. Malaysia confirmed yesterday its first case of Zika after a woman tested positive for the virus following a 3-day visit to the neighbouring Singapore. Continuous rainstorm brought by Typhoon Lion Rock has caused serious flooding and affected the lives of residents in the northeast China's Jilin province. Comedians are best known for entertaining people with laugh after laugh. An international comedy festival was held in the southern port city of Busan.
Minister Chandima Veerakodi told the media conference in Galle today that grassroots level and village level SLFP supporters are with the chairman of Sri Lanka Freedom Party, President Maithripala Sirisena. Minister Chandima Veerakodi said that a person without a proper party was making statements to the SLFP members who are waiting peacefully. He has told them that the Bandaranaike policy was to separate the party. He asked as to how the SLFP supporters can tolerate such statements. This person was responsible for dividing his own party and he has become the only active member of that party. No one can tolerate utterances of such a person without credibility, he said.
The Japanese government has decided to provide around 86.4 million rupees in grant aid for humanitarian mine clearance in the northern province. This grant aid is to be provided to the Sri Lanka under Japanese grant assistance for grassroots human security project. The project for humanitarian mine clearance for resettlement and livelihood in northern Sri Lanka, implemented by the Halo Trust, will expedite the efforts of the Sri Lankan government to make contaminated areas safe lands for people to return to their resume to their livelihood activities.
On the mining of the conflict-affected area in Sri Lanka. We have been extending support since 2003, I understand.
Yes.
But still some areas for demining is left. And we hope that the Halo Trust can continue its good work. I understand that this year's contribution will enable about 21 more hectares to be cleared.
The Japanese government has been the most long-standing and stalwart supporter of Halo's work in Sri Lanka since we started over 13 years ago. Their funding has been absolutely critical to allow us to continue work ever since operations started so many years ago. This new contract will let us continue working towards our aim of a mine impact-free Sri Lanka that our staff, such as Mary, have been working towards for so long and so hard, with such great sacrifice of their time and effort. They're truly impressive, and without the funding from our donors, such as the Japanese government, the assistance and cooperation of the government of Sri Lanka, and the efforts of our national staff, we wouldn't be able to achieve anything. But we have all these things, and with it, we can aim to achieve our goal of the mine impact-free Sri Lanka.
A presentation and discussion on bilateral trade between Sri Lanka and China was held at the National Chamber Auditorium in Colombo yesterday. This conference has paved the way for the local business community to exchange views and information and present their proposal to the Chinese ambassador and embassy officials. Commercial Counselor of the Chinese Embassy, Wang Yingqi, outlined the current status of the bilateral trade, potential market opportunities and other services available in China. Chinese Ambassador in Sri Lanka, Yi Jiangliang, delivered the speech of the special guest. Chairman of National Chamber of Commerce, Tilak Godamanna, was among those present.
Double Economic Centre Traders Union has decided to suspend the import of big onions and the sale of imported big onions for 3 months with the aim of strengthening farmers while maintaining the local big onion price stable. Big onion yield of Dambulla, Sigiriya and Galevela areas were receiving at the economic centre at present. The price was in the region of 70 to 75 rupees per kilogram. The president of the Dambulla Economic Centre Trade Union, U.R. Dayananda Siri, told a media conference in Dambulla today that taxes on imported big onions should be further increased while maintaining a stable price for local big onions to provide a reasonable price for farmers. And here's our trading details now. The all share price index closed at 6,540.29 points, increased by 12.08 points, and the S&P SL20 index closed at 3,597.65 points, an increase by 12.51 points at the end of the trading in the Colombo Stock Exchange today. Turnover was over 588 million rupees. Coming up next is foreign news.
And in news overseas, Brazil's Senate has voted to remove President Dilma Rousseff from office for manipulating the budget. It puts an end to the 13 years in power of her left-wing Workers' Party. Rousseff had denied the charges. 61 senators voted in favor of her dismissal and 20 against, meeting the two-thirds majority needed to remove her from the presidency. Michel Temer has been sworn in as president and will serve out Rousseff's term until 1st January 2019. The dismissal of Rousseff has caused a rift between Brazil and 3 left-wing South American governments that criticized the move yesterday. Brazil and Venezuela recalled each other's ambassadors. Brazilian envoys to Bolivia and Ecuador have also been ordered home. Rousseff lost the impeachment battle but won a separate Senate vote that had sought to ban her from public office for 8 years. And in sports news, Sri Lanka skipper Angelo Matthews has become a doubtful starter in the final one-day international against Australia after suffering a leg injury in yesterday's 4th ODI. Matthews sustained this injury in the 28th over when he scored 28 runs. He had to leave the field owing to the leg injury. However, he made 40 runs coming back to the wicket after the falling of the 8th wicket. He is to undergo a CT scan, and after his participation in the 2 T20 matches will be decided by the Sri Lanka cricket selectors. It has been reported that opening batsman Upul Taranga has been recalled for the final one-day international to be played in Pallekele International Stadium in Kandy next Sunday.
And before we go, the weather for you. The Met Department says that but before that, we have one more sports item. Aaron Finch equalled the Australian record for the fastest one-day international half-century to help his side take a 3-1 series victory over Sri Lanka in the Dambulla International Stadium yesterday. Sri Lanka batting first were bowled down for 212 runs in 50 overs. Avishka Fernando, who won the one-day cap for Sri Lanka, was first to go without scoring. Kusal Mendis was out for 1. Dinesh Chandimal was sent back to the pavilion when he made only 5 runs. Skipper Angelo Matthews top scored for Sri Lanka with 40 runs, battling gallantly with a leg injury. John Hastings took 6 for 45. Australian opener Finch took just 18 balls to reach his half-century, hitting 55 balls in 19 balls with 8 fours and 3 sixes, equaling Glenn Maxwell's record. Australia reached the winning target, losing 4 wickets in 31 overs. George Bailey scored an unbeaten 90 runs. Travis Head made 40. Sajid Patirana took 3 for 37. And your Met Department says that the fairly strong winds at times is expected to continue over the island. Several spells of light showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and southern and northwestern provinces and in the Jaffna district. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places elsewhere after 2 p.m.
And that's it for tonight's news. Do watch us tomorrow at the very same time. Good night.